Hello. I just went live because it was pressuring me to go live. Hi, everyone.
Oh,
How are you all?
live. Hi.
Cheers to.
Am I freezing?
No, I wasn't. I don't know how my Wi-Fi is either. I think it's fine.
You froze for a second, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't me.
I think you're good. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let me take this shot really quick because I've had a long day.
You have.
Yes. I'm like moving everything. Just like everything. And like it's just so messy. And I've never moved before.
You've never moved before?
No, I moved from like my grandma's to like home once, but that was like 3 blocks away. And I was only living there for like a couple months. So I've never done like a big move across the country. It's just a lot of stuff. Like I just have so much stuff. And then like I'll try to put things away and then I'm like, oh wait, I can't do that until I do this. And then I have to unpack a whole other box just so I can get that thing out. And it's just like, it's a lot.
Yeah, moving is stressful, dude. It fucking sucks.
I also had to buy a vacuum today and I was like so confused. I was like, I didn't realize that buying a vacuum was so complicated. Like they're all the same, but they're all so different.
And they're all like, there's one that's like $300 and it looks the same as the one that's $100 and it's like,
and then the fucking Dyson Airball Across is $700 and I'm like, do you really need a cordless vacuum that bad that you're gonna pay $700? I feel like if you have the money to spend $700 on a cordless vacuum, you probably should just get a maid to come clean for you. You know, like who the fuck has $700 for a vacuum? But anyways, yeah, I got a vacuum. I didn't set it up right, so I'm just gonna wait till the man comes home to do that.
You're just turning into a little wife.
I am. I'm trying. It's fun, I suppose.
It's so cute.
Yeah,
we love it.
It's definitely a job to take care of.
Commit to this.
I love the look today.
Do I look like the Unabomber?
A little bit, yeah, just a little bit though. It's okay.
I'm going with it.
Spot today with you.
I literally have pajamas on still. I worked 12 hours yesterday and then I got up this morning and worked all day and this is the state that I'm in now.
Imagine having a job. I do not have a job at the moment. I'll find one though. I'm not really like stressed about it. I just like working. I'll be home all day. Oh, you froze. Okay.
Oh, fuck. Okay, that must be me then.
Yeah.
Let me move this close to the Wi-Fi. Hang on. If you lose my camera, I'll be right back.
Oh! Okay, I'll hold it down. I have a whole bag of Reese's right here.
I love that.
This is my dinner, apparently. I can't go up into the kitchen and cook either because it's a long story. So I'm basically stuck down in this basement all day until I'm going to be able to go in the kitchen. And yeah.
Wait, why did you?
Just the dogs are a little crazy and I couldn't really be around them like by myself yet. So
I feel
they have to like warm up to me first. So if I was to just like walk into the kitchen, they'll probably like try to eat me. But I've like met them like a little bit, you know, they're just very like scared dogs. Yeah, so it's fine. I'll have Reese's for dinner.
Can't you just like
Chipotle? We have a fridge down here. It's not like I'm gonna like starve, but I just really like miss cooking because I've been eating like shit for like the past 2 weeks. Also, Forest Mommy's in here. I just got to hang out with Forest Mommy.
Oh yeah, I never got to FaceTime you.
Yeah, I was like so hungover Monday, but then like I figured you were just working because you just do that. You have a job and shit.
I've been a busy bitch.
Yeah, same, but for different reasons.
I just have to give another disclaimer about my fucking curtain rod because I don't want anyone to say that it's janky. I fucking know it's janky. It's my cat's fault. My husband hasn't fixed it yet, and he's hunting right now. So
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Is he gonna come home with like dinner?
He's gonna bring some turkeys home, and then I'm probably gonna
Wow,
grind them and make ground turkey.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I cried because there was a cricket in the house earlier. So
There's never any bugs in my house because I have 5 cats. Like literally never.
honestly, like maybe we need to get a cat because like my thing with the dogs, like I obviously can bring Floyd, and I'm so sad and I miss him so much. But we FaceTime every day. But like with a cat, I feel like we could just kind of leave it in this basement all day, and like it's not like that's what cats do, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have
more
like
low-key.
there's like enough room in our house that they like are fine. They can like run around and play and stuff. But like
Yeah.
cats live in apartments and like they're
Right. And they're not like as needy. Like Floyd is such a needy dog, which is why I couldn't bring him. You know,
Right.
like you can't leave him in a fucking basement all day by himself, especially when he's 15 years old and like he doesn't even
Right.
have access to the backyard. Like he'd be all by himself. It was just like I was not going to do that to him. Like maybe I'll just like come home with the kitten and just like see what it says. I'll be like, hey, by the way, I got a kitten. I'm like lonely and bored at home all day. So
They're honestly like so easy. Like you just
yeah.
have to scoop the litter box and feed them, and like they entertain. Like you have to like buy them toys and stuff, and like it also helps.
Right.
I will say if you have 2 at least, because then they can.
So we have a cat like at the house that we're gonna move into, which is like his grandparents' old house, and it's just like a big fixer-upper. Like we're not gonna be living in there for like at least 6 months, but there's a cat in there, and then, like it's not like abandoned. Like they go there a few times a week and like leave food out for the cat and shit. So like I don't know if you bring 2 cats together that don't know each other if they're gonna like fight, but they're fine, right? They don't do that.
I mean, ours don't, but they've also all been together since they were like babies. But that was just like we originally only meant to have 2. So like that was our thought was like we'll get them at the same time and they'll just be babies,
Right.
and then they can grow up together and hopefully they won't hate each other and they can play together and shit. And they do. And now there's 5 of them, so it's great. They keep each other entertained.
Yeah, maybe we'll get 2 cats or bring the cat from the other house.
Yeah.
There was a fucking mouse in here last time I was here, like a fucking mouse. And I just looked behind the couch and I'm so confused because there's a mouse trap, but there's only half a mouse in it.
Ew.
Did he not throw away the whole mouse trap? Like, did he just pick up the mouse and like half of it got left on the floor?
Oh
my god! Still in the trap. So I think maybe there was like another mouse in here, and like he was gone for 2 weeks. Like no one was down here. So then maybe like another mouse came in and like ate the first mouse. And, like,
dude, you need a fucking cat for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's something. Like cats are cheap. I mean, you know, if you get really sick, like, oh, sorry, buddy, I didn't love you that much, but.
And if you rescue a cat, it usually already has like all of its shots and shit. So like for like the initial vet bills and everything.
Right. Yeah. I've never been a cat person, but dogs are just such hard work. So we'll see. Maybe I'll come home with a cat.
Yeah, that's why I got them, because like I do want a dog someday, but I'm not like ready for the responsibility.
Yeah, that's like having a child, and like I think I'd rather have a child than a dog right now. I'm like I'm not ready for a new dog. Like I don't have Floyd, it's fine. I don't need a dog.
Yeah,
but I need something to kill these fucking mice. I swear to God. Like what? How the fuck is there half of a mouse? Also, why would he just throw away like the mouse? Like wouldn't you throw away the whole trap, right?
Because men. Why do they do anything?
Like there had to have been a second mouse, because I was like, we need to lay out like multiple traps.
Yeah,
I wanted to like pick it up and show you guys, but I don't want to get like rabies. So,
dude, just get a cat, and then you don't have to worry about math.
Yeah, I will. Okay, that'll be a fun conversation.
Start looking up rescue cats on the Missouri interwebs, and
oh yeah, I'm sure there's like a humane society. You know, Kansas City is like very big. Like I think people have the impression that Kansas City is like a hick town, but it's like not. It's huge.
Yeah, I've only been there once. I flew into there and then we like drove to the Ozarks, but
right.
It was like, yeah, it's a big city.
There's like a lot of freeways, and like I can't get anywhere without the GPS yet. It's fine. I'll figure it out. I mean, I've literally been here for like 1 day.
I know. I was just gonna say that. Like, you're like, oh, I don't have a job yet. I can't get around. Like, bitch, calm down. You literally just got it.
Yeah, I'm so not not used to this. Like, what is this?
It is. It's hard. It's hard adjusting to a new place, but I'm so happy for you. We love that you're living your best life as a wife.
Yeah, I'm a Chad wife. Someone asked, how's the Chad wife life? It's good.
I think that comment.
Like, it's good. It's fine. I mean, we've literally been together for like 2 weeks straight. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you can just be at work. That's fine. I'm just gonna like I'm very big on like space, you know. I don't think people need to be together 24/7 or like make each other their whole personality. So like it's been nice. I've just been chilling, running errands, you know, doing Chad wife things, buying a vacuum that I don't know how to set up. So
I was gonna talk about this before, but we got onto something else. But I ended up like doing the same thing. I just bought like a random vacuum from Walmart when we moved into our house. And then for Christmas, I told my dad I wanted a nice vacuum. And he actually got me like a really nice one. I think he got it from Costco, but it's like a shark. And it was like definitely like expensive. Yeah. And it's the best thing ever. So I sort of retract my comment earlier about what's the difference between a $300 vacuum and a $100 vacuum, because now I have a really nice one and I will tell you it is worth it.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I bought this little tiny vacuum from back home, but all I had was like a 4x4 carpet, and I'm like, a 4x4 carpet and a whole basement filled with carpet. I'm gonna need a better vacuum. That shit was not gonna cut it. So there's no filter in the vacuum I bought from home. Like I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go buy a new filter. I'm just gonna go buy a new vacuum. I was like, you really expect me to go online, order a filter for this vacuum? Like, no, I'm just gonna go buy a new one.
A new one. It's worth it. You'll vacuum more now because you have a good vacuum that you like.
Yeah, you know, it's still definitely like just bachelor pad vibes, but we're getting there.
Honestly, that was my house because we moved in, God, almost 2 years ago. But like we just have like hand-me-down furniture because furniture is so fucking expensive. It is so expensive to make your house.
You can go to like the thrift store and get couches for like $100. I was like, what?
Yeah, but like, so that's what I tried to do is like curate things like over time, and it's like it either takes a really long time because you have to like slowly put together the pieces to like make it look how you want to look,
right?
Or like you have to just do the investment of like decorating and buying all the furniture and shit, and that's so expensive. So that's like our next project is like doing the inside of the house, because my husband spent so much time outside and so much money on the beautiful property that we have now.
Because now it's like people are gonna think your house is like really nice outside. Inside they're like, okay, you know, I can chill in here, but you want to make. I'm like definitely more of an inside person because like I'm inside the house, you know. Yeah. It's like the outside of my car will be so disgusting, and people will like wash your car, and I'll be like, well, the inside, like I don't look at the outside when I'm driving it. As long as the inside is clean, I'm fine. I don't give a shit.
And like my house is like cool enough. It was built in 1930 something, so it has like charm and like it's like really cute inside. So like if I decorate it the way that I want to, it'll be very cute. But right now it's like a cute house with like shit furniture in it, like hand-me-down furniture that I don't want.
No, I know furniture's so expensive. Also, tax said furniture is a psyop. I 100% agree with that because like people in like Asian countries, they just like sit on the floor and eat, and I'm like, you know, I'm about to just go buy a fucking beanbag and just put a bunch of yoga mats everywhere and call it a day. like,
dude,
I just sit on the floor all the time.
My great grandma. So yeah, my great grandma from the Philippines would literally like just sleep on the floor, like no mattress, no like anything, just sleep on the floor, eat sitting down, like on the floor. Just
I know,
very simple.
Why we have like so evolved into like not just being able to like even sleep without pillow, and like pillows are bad for you. Cause like they fuck up your neck and shit. You're gonna be all tense up like in your traps and like your shoulders. Like you're supposed to just sleep on like a hard flat surface with no pillow. And like I can't fall asleep without like 5 pillows in a perfect position now. I'm just like, what has society done to us?
fucked us up and made us lazy and out of shape. And
yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe it's like we need a really, really comfortable bed. Maybe mattress companies are the psyop, you know? Like
maybe
buy this $5,000 mattress that you don't need when you could just sleep on the floor. I'm like, sure, I'll just sleep on the floor at this point. Fuck it.
I will say I do have a purple mattress. I bought into the whole fucking. They have fantastic marketing, but I do love it. It's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I've never been like a different on mattresses. Like the last bed I bought, I didn't even like test it out. I was like, sure, I like it. The like bed frame went up and down, so I was like, sure, yes, I want that one. And then like the bed we have now, like I was just like buy a king bed. Like I don't care, just buy one. But it was fine. So thankfully I haven't given into the like mattress psyop yet, but when I have the money to, I'm sure I will go buy a $5,000 mattress. Oh, but you know, like thread count on the sheets, like I can't go back to Walmart sheets. I'm sorry.
No,
I gotta go at least Target now. Yeah. I need at least a 600 thread count, not a 300. I haven't done 1,000 yet. You know, the thread count, that is something that like I feel that. Like I need a nice sheets.
Oh my god. I just realized I never tweeted this link. I probably should.
Yeah, sorry, we're kind of like just on a tangent tonight. There hasn't been a lot happening. Like obviously Elon bought Twitter, which is like a big deal. Have you noticed like a difference in your like Twitter feed since anything happened?
I mean, what was okay, so like obviously right after Elon bought Twitter or they accepted the offer or whatever, people were freaking out like, oh, he could solve so many problems with this, like hunger, poverty, whatever, homelessness. Like,
Right.
okay, well, why is it his responsibility?
Right.
So, like, that was like, people were freaking out about that, right? And then I thought that it was so hilarious that today I woke up and looked at Twitter and saw that Biden asked Congress for $33 billion to send to Ukraine on top of all the other fucking money we and
just spend like 800 million.
Yeah, but like we've sent them shit before that too. That was just the last one. Was like
right, and we just sent another 33 billion.
Well, he asked Congress to like approve it or whatever, but like no one was saying anything about that. Like it's just hilarious how people are just hypocrites and just blind to like what they don't want to see. Like, okay, why don't you say that Biden should allocate that to solve one of the fucking social justice problems that you're saying Elon needs to solve with his personal money that isn't your money, that is stolen from you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like people cannot wrap their head around, especially because it tends to come from the more liberal crowd. It's like people can't wrap their head around the fact that someone can just actually be like extremely successful and it doesn't really like affect it. Like, I don't give a fuck how much money Elon has. Like, you know, I'll make my own money. There's plenty of money to be made. There's literally unlimited amounts of money.
Yeah.
You know, like, and literally just ask the government.
They just keep printing it. So
there's obviously just unlimited amounts to be made. Like, just work harder and you can I mean, I'm not saying like everyone can become a billionaire or even I mean, I think everyone can become a millionaire like eventually in life, like later on after you've like had your investments, you know, go through and shit. But it's possible. So like I don't really give a shit at what Elon wants to do. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's just like a jealousy thing or just like people hating people who are more successful than them, but like I don't care. My little brother drives a Tesla. That shit's cool as fuck. I'm like, all right, he needs more money if we can have more Teslas. I don't give a shit.
Well, that's what I don't understand is like why Elon made his money because he has his businesses and is like obviously super intelligent and like worked for it and like whatever. But like, why are you demanding he spend his personal money that he's worked for when the government literally steals your money from you every single time you get a paycheck, and they're infiltrating and finding more ways to do so? I just read some comment about how last year, for the first time, if you've sold things on like Poshmark or, you know, those sorts of apps, if you sold over $200, the IRS got involved and you had to claim it on your taxes. They like sent tax forms to everybody who had sold more than $200. So it's just like, how are people like so blind to that fact and
Right.
like don't get upset about that. Like if you're going to be upset about wasteful spending and things like that, like direct it elsewhere, direct it somewhere where you actually can like vote and speak and have a voice in. That's supposedly how it's supposed to work. Why are you demanding that this one person who has worked for the money that they have solve the world's problems? That doesn't seem fair.
Because they want to solve them themselves. But it's like okay, what was 44 billion of Elon's money? It was probably because I believe his net worth is like 200 billion, so we'll just make it easy. We'll say that was like 25% of his money. Like if your salary is like what in a normal everyday town that's not like expensive as fuck, maybe like 60,000 is livable, right? Are you taking 25% of your, are you taking $15,000 a year and donating it to whatever organization that you're demanding Elon donates it to? You know, it's like,
Exactly.
if you want to end world hunger, why don't you donate 25% of your net worth every single year and go end world hunger? Like, I don't know. You know, it's like, oh, well, you should do this. It's like, well, you're not doing it either.
Exactly. They're fucking hypocrites. And like, or why aren't you calling your senators and saying, hey, this is something that we should be allocating tax money to? And like, do something that actually is productive instead of just getting on Twitter and being like, oh, he shouldn't have that much money. Meh. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no one will ever actually get involved. It's like, oh, we'll call your senator. Oh, no, that's too much work.
exactly.
Yeah.
They probably don't even know who their senator is.
No, I literally have no idea who any of my senators in Missouri are. I'm like,
again, you've been there for one day.
yeah, right. I'm like, I honestly didn't even hardly know who any of the senators in California were. It's like, it's just not, and like I'm involved in politics, but it's just like, what are you really gonna do? Unless you're like going like to city council meetings and like changing it at that super local level, or like actually like working with the senator and have like some connections to him. And it's just like most people aren't going to do that because they have jobs, they have a life. Like politics, there's a reason they make it very difficult for like everyday normal people to get involved in politics, you know, because they don't want us to really have a say and they don't want us to know what's going on. So it's like, you know, if you're mad about what's going on, but you're not willing to like take on that part almost full-time job of getting involved in politics, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's well, and like I feel like unless it's something that goes viral and like suddenly a senator's office is being flooded with calls about a particular issue, then it's very much like people also feel like, well, why am I going to waste my time calling and like leaving a message with the senator's office when they're probably not going to do anything with it? Or like, you know, they can say, okay, thanks for your call, but then like really what does that do? Like,
right. And that's like there's two people that I know that are good at, do you have the YouTube open? I can like hear myself. Maybe
no.
Okay. But so there's like only two people that I can recall that are like actually very involved that aren't like big in the LP. Like I know Angela McCardle does a lot, but she's like really in the LP. So there's like Gunpowder and Vanilla, Autumn.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys know her, she will like actually sit there and like call her senators about like campus carrying. Like back when I was hanging out with her in Florida, she was like always calling the senators like fucking campus carry, campus, like she does shit. And then there's like Lauren Liberty, who's like from Arizona, involved in the LP there. Like she will actually go to city council meetings and shit and like do shit. And those are the only two people just off the top of my head that I know. And like I'm not saying no one else does, but like just the two friends that I have that I'm closest to that are like actually going and doing shit. And I know that they also just both have the time to like do that, you know.
Right.
Autumn works in politics. Lauren, I don't know what she does for work, but I know that she has and makes the time to like actually go out there and get involved. And, you know, I'm assuming that because she's married, you know, maybe she doesn't have to work as much. Like, I don't know, but like most of the people who are involved in doing that shit, they have the time and the energy and the money to be able to go do it. Right. So it's like, just shut the fuck up if you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. but they feel like they're doing something by tweeting and
yeah,
bragging other
I mean,
people.
I'm guilty as charged too. Like I got involved in my local LP, but it's like I really can't sit here and say that like I'm making a difference. And now that I'm in Missouri, like it's either gonna go one way, which is like, well, Missouri is already fucking based. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get lazy because I'm already in such a state that's like so politically based, and we have like some of the best 2A laws or anti-laws, if you want to call them. Like no, any cop who basically gets caught like trying to give you shit for having a gun is like gonna get fired. Like they're super pro like 2A here. But I'm sure there's things that, need work, but it's like I just came from California. I feel like I'm living in fucking freedom right now. That route I'm gonna go where I just get too fucking lazy, or I'm gonna get more involved with the LP here, the local LP here, and like, keep it based, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know every Missouri law, but
yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that you have to like, if it's already there, like you have to fight to keep it.
Yeah, like maintain it. But yeah, it's like I'm guilty of just like going on Twitter and like ranting about shit and not doing anything. And I think that most people are, but then it's also like, what are we really gonna do besides just like try to bring awareness to it? And I think there are people who are more fortunate and get like a following and a platform like us that like their voice actually could potentially, get out there to people on the internet. And then people on the internet, I mean, the internet is just such a weird and like different type of platform, that we're not used to. So it's like maybe I am making a difference by tweeting about fucking reptilians. I don't know. I mean, almost 14,000 people see it. Or like, when you tweet something, it's like 30,000 people are seeing it. Like, you don't know who that's getting out and seeing. But I do think if you like have a platform and you're at least trying to like get a message out there, then you're doing something. But like, what is anybody really fucking doing at the end of the day? Like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. I just go online and I shit post. Sometimes it blows up, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but yeah, totally. I mean, and I think that, like you said, like there is, when you have a big enough platform, like you do have the opportunity to like maybe even something as simple as like bringing an issue to somebody's attention so that they like go research it more. Like that's sort of like how I see my role. Like obviously we shit post a lot and like make a lot of jokes. Right. But when I like post serious things or I'm like really getting into my opinion on something, it's really just about like, I want people to pay attention to this. Like I'm not necessarily trying to tell people what to think, although I have my opinions and they're very outward. Like if I can just make someone like research something a little bit more, like then I think that I've done a good service,
Yeah. And I think my biggest thing is I don't necessarily if I get people from the left to like, not that I'm right, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I get those people to change their opinion. But what I think is cool is I have a lot of people that like, they never post about politics on Instagram. They like keep their opinion very quiet, and they will like message me about stuff or like do the little like thing to my stories, and like just they're too scared to use their voice, but they can like see someone else using it. And like I've made friends, with people that like I lost touch with, and now we're friends again over this thing. Like I think it's just cool for other people who are on our side to know that like they're not alone and they like can use their voice. And I feel like that's maybe the one thing that like I have going for me with just what I've seen myself do on Twitter and the internet so far is like people are now speaking and they're knowing that they're not alone and they're knowing that they're not fucking crazy. Like even earlier in the week, I had this girl like message me who I used to work with, and she was like, "How do I get a gun? Like, I'm scared. Yeah. What do I do?" And I was like, "Girl, I got you. California, it sucks, but there is a way to do it." And it's like, I'm the one that like people can reach out to like do that. And I think that's cool because I'm very like pro gun, very, like I post about, I mean, I don't know shit about guns. You show me a fucking AK-47 and an AR-15, I will not be able to tell you the difference. But I'm like very pro, get whatever you want, do whatever you want, as long as you're safe with them. Like, so it is cool to like have that voice for people who are like scared to speak up. And I think that's like the main thing that I've done with my platform. I guess it's weird to say that, but
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of had similar experiences too. Like I've kind of helped, like, especially when it was the thing that, you know, employers and schools and stuff are mandating vaccines. I think that has kind of passed. I think that a lot of people who got it for those reasons got it, and now, like, restrictions are loosening, and
Yeah. You'll be so surprised, like, how many people, like, did not get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like, I think we see it more just because we put it out there that we're not, and so, like, people talk to us about it and shit, but, like, you know, it's like we're not alone in this fight. And I do think it's, you know, like, even seeing all this, like, Elon stuff recently of just like him being a billionaire. I think he's the, and like, I don't trust Elon. Like, I love Elon. He seems cool, like, you know, sugar daddy vibe, whatever. But like, I don't trust any billionaire. I don't think anyone should trust any billionaire and put all their trust in a billionaire. But like, it is cool to have him be the first politically open kind of middle person.
Mhm.
You know, like he's pretty pro from what I see, like universal basic income. Like he thinks that that's something that, you know, we should do, but then he's also like very like anti corrupt politicians. Like
Yeah.
so it's like you have a liberal stance and then I guess more conservative stance. Like he's one of the first billionaires that you see who's like not afraid to like call people out for their shit.
Right.
So, like, I think that is really waking people up. And so I think that's one of the positives too. And even like Jack Dorsey recently has been tweeting shit that's like really fucking based. I mean, a long time ago he tweeted like the anatomy of the state thing, you know, that was like a big thing. And then just his Twitter threads recently, it's like people are waking up, and like we actually now I feel like have voices out there that just it's impossible not to listen to. It's impossible not to hear what these people's opinions are because
Right.
it's all you fucking see in the news. So there's more people that are going to be discovering this like middle ground of politics. And I think that's great.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like, the left has gone so far left and so crazy that people who were like, yeah, might have been liberal before, but like aren't into the super like leftist shit are like, okay, well, I'm not a Republican, but like I'm definitely not what a Democrat is today. So like where do I go now and like what happens? And it's kind of sad that like people who are in that situation kind of get labeled as right wing with like a negative connotation or get labeled as a Republican when it's not really that. It's the Democrat Party and what it's become has pushed a lot of these like moderate Democrats out. And now they're just looking for like liberty and like free speech and just basic things that we've always had that are now being threatened. And like people are realizing like, wait a minute, this is weird. And like just because I disagree with the leftist bullshit and the mainstream bullshit doesn't mean I'm a Republican, but like we have to have this conversation about like there has to be some sort of common sense middle ground, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the middle. So like like Joe Rogan, for one, I've been listening to a shit ton of podcasts. I've been on a cross country road trip, right? Like he even had somebody on, and he had I think people knew that he voted for Joe Jorgensen, but like someone of Joe Rogan's influence, you know, like biggest podcast or whatever, him talking about on his podcast how he voted for Joe Jorgensen, like people are like, oh, who's Joe Jorgensen? Oh, she's a libertarian. Oh, what's libertarian? Like stuff like that. Like just these people who are not, and I'm like totally like, I don't think everyone is a psyop. You know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan, I think he's just very fucking famous. I don't think he was like a seed that was planted to be some, you know, because like he's friends with like Dave Smith and shit, you know, like I don't think all these people are fucking psyops. So it's like just normal people that just happen to get like really, really famous. It's like talking about this shit. Jack Dorsey, right? Like, or even like this podcast that I listen to, Mind Pump. It's like about the first half of the podcast is just like news and current events, and then the last half is like fitness. But like they're the biggest fitness podcast. Still even have people like listening to that and then being like, oh, they say they're libertarian. Like, what's a libertarian? Like, it's a little bit more of a common thing. And that's why I have a lot of hope for like people in the middle who are lost. Because now you have like Elon, who's like so big in the middle, Joe Rogan, like all these podcasters and shit.
Right.
a lot of these people are very like just in the middle, and they just nobody knows like what that means.
Yeah.
So I think it is a positive. I really do.
I do too, and I think that part of the problem that people have with Republicans and the Republican Party is like, I think that the left has pushed like progressiveness so hard, and the GOP has kind of resisted it so hard that they're antiquated and they're not really like caught up with the times. Like, people don't care about gay people getting married anymore. Like, most Republicans don't care about that, but like the GOP is still looked at as very traditional, very faith-based, very much like Christian conservative, and like it's bad messaging on the GOP, and it's why they haven't won elections, and it's why like people are so hesitant to be labeled like a Republican. And that's why we do kind of, if the GOP is unwilling to kind of progress in some aspects, then like we do have to create a middle ground for these people who don't want to be labeled with this like Christian Republican vibe. But like,
I think that's the main issue. I mean, not that it's an issue to be a Christian at all. Like, I have a lot of friends who are, you know, Christian and very conservative, and we're good friends, and like we agree to disagree, and we have like open conversations about like religion and shit, and like it's just super cool to like have people like that in your life that just like know like, hey, look, I'm not a fucking Christian, but I am curious about like this issue, like, you know, me and Noah wanting to have threesomes. Like, what is the biblical view on that? And like, I don't ask them in like a way that's like disrespectful to the religion. It's just like, I'm curious about it, but they obviously all tend to fall more into the conservative category. And then with the conservative comes the Republican. And so it's like, even most of these super conservative Republicans are still willing to like have a conversation about it. But that's just like not something that people do. Because you just make assumptions off of people. And I don't know, I think if the religion thing wasn't as big of a thing as it was in the GOP, like more people would be a lot more open to that. I just think that is still the biggest underlying issue, is like because of the religious beliefs. Oh, Juliana's here. Then people
Hi, babies.
Hi. Sorry, we're just
No,
you're good. But yeah, like people just assume that because you're Republican, you're identifying with also the very Christian conservative Republicans, which I don't think is true. And I also think like most Christian conservatives that I know at this point, like they don't give a shit like what you're doing. They just want the world to not be turning into like this woke bullshit, you know? Like,
totally.
So true, bestie.
And like, I think I'm fairly, you know, I don't know, somewhat conservative, and like, somewhat liberal too, which is probably, you know, why we found each other in this libertarian space. But like, I don't think, like, I don't want to disparage like the GOP and the values and the message, because I do think that there is value in it. I think that like the whole like nuclear family and like the like what they're trying to accomplish with their messaging, like I get it, and I don't think it's bad. But to like exclude anyone who doesn't also live that way or feel that way.
Problem, especially with like the nuclear family issue, is like, as somebody who is now married and we're basically going to be, you know, we want to have kids, like I'll be pregnant hopefully this year, maybe next year, I don't know, we want to have kids, you know what I mean? And it's like, we are going to go more of the route of like,
hi baby. Sorry, Sarah.
No, you're good. But we're going to go more of the route of like, well, I'm going to need to stay home and take care of the house and raise the kid, and he's going to have to go to work. And like, we do fall more into that category. And I cannot imagine, like, I cannot fucking imagine like being a single mom. Like, shout out to all the single moms. That shit has to be so hard. And just like every single mom that I know, if there's a reason that they're struggling, because you should not have to be raising a kid without a father figure. Like, that's just like, it's just so fucked up to like have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine. So
Yeah.
I get when they like push for the nuclear family, because yes, I do think it would be better, but at the end of the day, like that's just not the situation that everyone is going to be in. And I don't think that we should be like mistreating people who accidentally get pregnant and end up being a single mom or a single dad, you know, like that's just,
Yeah, it doesn't benefit anyone to
right.
shame
So
anyone.
it's like to only act like that nuclear family is good, which it is. And like, please, I hope if you're gonna have a kid, like you don't have to necessarily be married, if you whatever, but like just at least have the person who you have kids with, that you and that person are gonna be on good terms forever. And you don't have to get the government involved in your shit and your child support shit and your alimony shit. Like just be on good terms. So it's like I understand where the GOP is coming from too, but it's like we cannot make this the message that you're trying to send out right now. Like we're literally living in a tyrannical,
agreed.
you know what I mean? Like, because then when people hear that and they're like a single mom or they're on welfare or something, they're gonna be like so turned off from that. And that's just like not the type of message that I think we need to be putting out, even though I think it's a great message. And like God bless all single mothers and fathers that like have to go through that. It's just like not helpful to anybody, I think, right now, you know?
Yeah, it's not also like, I don't know, the psychological like I guess impact that, parents of single or children of single parent households have. Like, not trying to make this all about like, money and economics and things like that, but even that does impact the economy. It impacts inflation, it impacts voter behavior, it impacts like, I mean, it can even impact, academic achievements. Are there more, individuals of single parent households are more likely to drop out of both high school and college, like things like that. And so like, obviously like, you know, it's not like it's, obviously, of course, I hope, I wouldn't want anyone in that situation, but, if they were, obviously, of course, I would help them. Or,
Yeah.
I would want, or, I would hope that they would have, a support system. But, it's, I've never met anyone who has ever wanted to be a single parent, because it's not beneficial to anyone in the long run. And the issues that especially that child will either grow up with or trauma, whatever, like it's just not helpful to anyone. And I mean, the crime rates of, individuals who, they're more likely to commit crime, go to prison, things like that. And then like, obviously, like, it helps the government in that way, because then they make more money off of you. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's where it is
It's
tough.
tough.
There are things like being very against abortion on a personal level, but like just understanding that it's not an issue, a black and white issue, or it's just like you can ban it.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, I want to push like pro-life. Of course, I want to push the nuclear family, and like, please be careful who you have kids with. But at the end of the day, accidents happen. And so it's like, I think a lot of people still hearing the GOP's message of like what it is, it almost sounds like you're being like attacked because they're pushing for the opposite thing, even though I think there is very good reason to push for that.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
But
I
that's
agree.
it's just such a weird and like tough society that we live in, that nothing should be put into like this one political box or this one political party.
Yeah, one of and I mean honestly, even to like this is gonna sound really like intense and kind of like fucked up, honestly. But in my personal opinion, I don't think that anyone should be having sex with people that they would not have a kid with, or not feel comfortable being in a situation like that with. Because I mean, like, which again, that's like, obviously I get it. People have impulses, whatever. But in my opinion, like, you should not consent to, like, in my opinion, you shouldn't consent to sex if you cannot consent to the consequences of it.
Yeah. And that's like
And
where me and like Forrest are kind of on the same page, because we're like both very open about like our sexual lives and shit.
Yeah.
And like, not to speak for her, but like, you'll see her tweeting stuff like very against abortion. Like, it's not that hard to get came in or whatever, like it's
also not hard to just practice safe sex.
Right. And so like, as someone who like, yeah, I like to fuck, it's like I still have like limits on it. you know, or like I will take a plan B, or like, you know, there's just like certain options. But I just feel like, unfortunately, society, it's either like you're very pro, like, oh, just hook up, do what you want, you can always get an abortion. Because that's the view that I had. Like growing up, I just didn't really understand like how bad abortion was. And like, you know, like I've talked about this before, but like me and my friends used to be like, oh, haha, yeah, we could just get abortions, like it's fine. But like that's not something, but it's like you just don't really even realize what you're saying. And so I think that's just the other problem, is like the values are not taught at a young age. And it's not like they should be taught in a religious sense, but they should just be taught in like a this is why this is important sense. It's like, I think, very attached to religion. And that's like kind of probably where the issue lies too, is like, to have these views, it doesn't mean that you're religious. Like I'm not religious, but
and that bothers me. Like that, like it bothers me how like the whole pro-life standpoint is, everyone's like, oh, like, you know, this is just, you know, stop pushing your religious beliefs, blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's actually not even a religious belief. Like even if I wasn't religious or even brought up with religion, I would absolutely still be pro-life. Like I don't know, it's just called dealing with the consequences of your actions.
Right.
I don't know. It's that's what being an adult is. Really, like, and and I mean, but that also comes into, you know, the whole argument of when life begins, then that becomes the next argument, blah blah blah. But like, I don't know. I just don't. One thing that bothers me is, and like obviously, I don't know. I know we've had this discussion before, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I have a small brain, and I don't remember what your guys' answers were. But in my personal opinion, I also, according, you know, to, I mean, several former abortionists and several doctors, like life begins at conception. And so like, you know, not even the 8-week mark, like no, like it's there, like, you know, like like I mean, it's, I don't know,
who's like trying to get pregnant and then like sees that positive pregnancy test that isn't like, oh my god, I'm so happy there's a baby in me. You know, like that's their instant thought, is like, there's a baby, there's a child in me. This is what I wanted. But then all of a sudden, because you don't want the baby, it's like,
it's a fetus.
That's
and it's a fetus.
Like, it's like we need to just be honest about these things, and you know,
it's a matter of, and at least in my opinion, people will change, you know, I guess the meaning of certain circumstances just for their own comfort, because they can't, you know,
and it's for their political
convenience.
Kind of Hannah, we're talking about how there's like a lot more people now that are openly like in the middle, just like a lot more big names and shit that, like, you know, Joe Rogan, he's very middle, right? Elon Musk, he's very middle. But it's like now you have to have like one view or the other, because you're leaning to be more left. Now you have to have all of the views of the left. And so I think that's also where a lot of it lies too, is like you kind of think you have to pick a side. You know.
Right? Yeah, one of my best friends and I, she and I were just, oh, I'm so sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. But I was like, you can still just have these honest conversations about things that, you know, maybe you're on the left, but this is something that you're more on the right. Like, that's okay. That's what the rule is for. That's what libertarianism is for.
Yeah, because one of my friends, she is, you know, when it comes to like abortion, gay marriage, things like that, like she's very, you know, like pro all of that stuff. But when it comes to like money, guns, like all of that, she doesn't want the government in any of that. And so she was talking to me, and she's born and raised here in Texas. And you know, she was like talking to me, and she was like, yeah, like, you know, it really hurts to see Austin and San Antonio become like California because of, like, you know, she was talking about the rampant homelessness, and she was talking about like the crime, everything like that. And she was like, you know, it's just because people aren't armed, and, you know, they don't have any sort of education on how to defend themselves, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And I told her, I was like, yeah, it is concerning to see like this state become like back home in California, because I mean, I came here like to get away from California. I mean, I came here for school, but like I stayed here for a reason. And so, you know, and I was telling her, I was like, it really, really is disheartening to see it become very much like California because of people voting for policies and laws that they don't understand the consequences of.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, like people don't, I was like, they don't want Texas to become California, but then they're out here voting blue.
Right,
and she votes blue.
One issue that means a lot to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she votes blue. And I was like, this is no offense to you, like, blah, blah, blah. But she was telling me about how she was like, yeah, well, I only vote blue. Hey, Mila, sorry. But she only votes blue because of certain policies. She's like, I wish that you could vote like independently on every single issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, it's still not worth voting blue ever.
But yeah, I will always vote red because of gun laws and anti-vax. You know what I mean? And that's like,
same.
We've just talked about that before, like, but I guess so. Like, what do you guys think with like these people who are just so big and so famous, like Elon, Joe Rogan, Elon literally buying Twitter, and him obviously being like a very politically middle person? Like, do you guys think or see the direction of politics like shifting at all because of that, and because of people being like, oh wait, like maybe I can be middle and I don't have to pick a side? Like, do you guys see things actually changing now? Or like, where do what are your thoughts about that?
I hope so. I think that it's going to take time. But the fact that it's becoming more mainstream than even like when I first got involved in like the liberty stuff, probably, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was when I like really got into it. But I mean, even just since then, like I think that the average person's understanding of libertarianism is increased, and I think that more people know what it is, and I think that we can only benefit by having, big name people talk about it and talk about their beliefs openly, and kind of go against that like mainstream leftist stuff, like just to validate a lot of people who listen to them who are like, I feel that way too, but like it's not okay to say this out loud. Like having people speak out about it and like say, yes, this is what I believe, and like this is okay. More people are naturally going to gravitate towards it and understand that they're not alone in their feelings, and like they can speak out about it too, or they can get involved or like learn more about it,
because I mean, yeah, because at least in my experience, like with a lot of my friends who are more liberal or they're not really sure where they stand, when I explain like more conservative policies to them at like, and I mean, I don't mean this in like a patronizing way, but like when I explain it to them at a very elementary level, and then when I, essentially, make it extremely basic, and I don't mention any side, 99% of the time in my experience, they've agreed with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so at least in my opinion, I think it's in our human nature to be more conservative. And I know, and that might, that's controversial for sure. Because I don't think it's in our nature to, want to take other people's money and then also want to be controlled. I don't think that's in our human nature. And so, I mean, I don't think it's in our human nature to, be any of these negative things. I think a lot of that is taught. However, whenever I mention that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, like that was actually one of like Donald Trump's policies, blah, 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 blah. And then when I mention all that stuff, they're like, oh, okay. So he's like not as bad as,
right.
And I'm like, yeah, you're being propagated against actually. And so when I mention that, usually they're like, oh, okay. And that's when they become a lot more skeptical and open-minded and things like that. Because like, if I'm like, hey, like, because I was actually just talking about this with some friends earlier today, but when I was in undergrad, or no, I'm sorry, this was when I was in graduate school. I was asked by my undergrad department, I was asked if I could represent Donald Trump in a presidential speed dating like essentially like a game that we hosted for the whole school. And it was just like, you gave a little little tidbits about who you are, where you're from, how old you are, your experience in politics, and like your three biggest issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mentioned all that stuff, and they gave us like 5 minutes for questions, and a bunch of people were flooding me with questions. And, I mentioned them, or I'm sorry, I answered them and all of that stuff. And I had so many people. It's kind of like The Bachelor, how like, when they vote for you, they give you a rose or whatever. And I had a lot more people give me roses than I thought was going to happen. And I had so many people come up to me and tell me that I made Donald Trump likable.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so you like his policies, you just don't like him.
Right.
And
And
I
that's
would
fine.
literally tell them, like, I mean this respectfully, but we don't elect a personality. Like, as much as people do look at the personality, that we don't elect a personality. We elect someone for their policies and what they want to do.
Right.
And so, if you can look past their personality, which I'm really hoping you do, because as some, if he's from New York, he's an asshole. Like,
Oh yeah.
and so,
I love it though.
I really fucking
Most
hope
people
that you look
don't like
past
the
it.
vibe of him being such an asshole, but like we're chill.
Yeah.
We love it.
And I mean, it's interesting because as soon as TV existed, that's right when JFK got elected, because they could see him. And JFK is known for being charming, handsome, charismatic, all that stuff.
Right.
And in my personal opinion, if you didn't have the television, JFK would not have been elected, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And because of just how powerful, like, television, media, all that stuff is. And I don't know. And I mean, it was the same thing basically, with Bill Clinton. I mean, and so I don't know. It's just interesting. Sorry, that was definitely a tangent.
Good.
But, I do think that once people are formally educated and like, from a non-biased elementary level perspective, I do think that everyone is inherently conservative. And I don't know. I think it's in our human nature to, I don't know, keep the money that we work for and then want to have a family with,
Someone
a
that's gonna
significant
be there.
other and
Right.
someone that's going to be, stay there. And like, I don't know. I think that the whole, like how we lived in, like living like the Amish, like deep down, like a part of me genuinely thinks like thinks that the simplicity of that lifestyle
Yeah.
is baseline what we want.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not.
I would love to not know what Twitter is. I would love to be
Isn't that
ignorant
ridiculous that
to-
that's just like what we live in? But
Yeah.
I also think, like, just I guess to kind of answer my own question, it's like I think a lot of that whole people realizing they're in the middle, it's gonna come from the media. And I think unfortunately, because social media is so new right now, it makes people think that like they have to pick a side, and they're constantly being brainwashed and bombarded with like
Yeah,
things.
especially with their peers too.
Right. But I think like also because of the media and these people like Elon literally fucking buying Twitter, Rogan and shit, like
Oh yeah, LOL.
they're gonna realize that like, hey, maybe there is like a place for me politically, or just, I'm not like alone and being like, okay, well, I'm a little more liberal, but like these things that I just don't agree with them. I'm like, that's okay. And I think a lot of it is just going to be when people start to realize that like social media is brainwashing them, either in a good or a bad way. I mean, I really try not to let it brainwash me.
Same.
But you just obviously see things that like are going to give you an emotional reaction. I mean, that's what like social media is kind of designed to do. But I think a big thing is just going to come from that when people realize like the media is a scam kind of, and CNN, Fox, like it's all a scam. It's all meant to brainwash you. Like when people kind of take back that control over themselves and be like, wait, I can think for myself, and then I can find people in that category. There's going to be a lot more people who realize, they're not like alone. And I think I do have hope. Like I really just try not to be black pilled in general, because I don't think that that's a good way to live. But I think we're going to see a lot more white pills in the near future than we are black pills. And I just don't like the direction that people think the world is going, where it's just going to be America's going to become like a communist state. I just don't think that that's true. There's a lot of people out there that are just very confused right now, and so I think we're good. Like I have a lot of hope. And yeah, that's really it, you know. I mean, Elon just fucking bought Twitter, and whatever you want to think about him, like the way that he thinks and the things that he says, it's gonna get other people to think. And
Yeah, I think he's incredibly intelligent.
yeah,
And I mean, I also think that like with how much of a radical free speech absolutionist he is, like I mean, same. I'm the same
yeah,
way. And so like, um, I think it's going to help broaden the scope of a lot of, young molding minds because I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. I mean, I really fucking hope so, but also like one I mean, if you like I saw this tweet earlier today that I thought was really interesting, and it was like Elon Musk buying Twitter, and allowing you to literally speak poorly of him, call him names, be XYZ, like on his own property. They were like, if anything, that is a gracious and generous host.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
yeah, like
exactly.
oh shit, like yeah. And I don't know, it was just, I mean, what do you have to lose? Like the Taliban, the CCP, the Kremlin, they're all already on Twitter. Literally, what do you have to lose?
Right.
Like,
People don't care
Yeah.
about that because there's also Republicans on Twitter and they're so mean.
MAGA people, yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
like, okay, cool, my opinion is somehow more powerful to you than actual policies. I friggin' wish. Like, if that was the actual case.
Opinions are more powerful than policies, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. If people voted on policies, we would have red states all over the country, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it's not about policies. Unfortunately, it is about
yeah,
opinions, because most people are idiots and need to be told what to thought.
yeah. And
What to think? I already knew what you meant.
and as much as it's like there are very brainwashed people, like I don't think as many people are brainwashed as the world tries to put out there. So I think we just have to stay hopeful and just keep being honest about who we are, and talk to people
You're
on
so
the
much
other
more
side.
optimistic than me.
Yeah, the amount of people that have just came to me and be like, hey, like I totally agree with this. It was kind of before you got on the stream, but it's just like there's a lot of people that are just scared to speak out, and I see that because I use my voice so much, and like people just, oh, this girl's a cool person to talk to, like I'm gonna talk to her about this, like people I grew up with, locals, people I went to high school with, like they are kind of on the same page as me, and they're just too scared to speak out, and I have hope. So like just keep hope. I don't think there's anything else that we can really do except just keep doing what we're doing and being honest about who we are and share that with the world, and that's really the best thing you can do in general. And
Yeah.
that kind of like sums it up for me. If you guys have any closing remarks you would like to say.
Hannah?
I think we covered it. I said everything I feel in my heart.
I do have one closing remark, and it's almost like I mean, I don't want it to like lead to like another whole discussion, but like I definitely do want to say it.
Yeah,
A part of me is, while obviously I am pro Elon Musk, there is a part of me that is extremely still very cautious with him,
for sure.
only because of just how
Always.
futuristic and like I guess economically progressive. Not saying economically progressive, that's the wrong term, but I guess technologically progressive he is. And with certain laws in place, like the Patriot Act, XYZ, things like that, it does concern me when it comes to like wanting all robots, everything digital, like and I heard something about him wanting to create like microchips, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, ayo, like, I'm cool with you, but also at the same time, I'm definitely keeping an eye out on you because you are this close to being the next Bill Gates.
No, I agree.
All you got to do is buy a buttload of land, and you are the Bill Gates. And you are Bill Gates.
Well,
Like,
I think that you have to be somewhat insane to become that successful and that rich. I truly don't believe that a normal person with a normal personality who is not a little bit batshit fucking nuts can become that successful. So there is that, like, okay, yeah, he's cool, but like how he's still this fucking eccentric billionaire. So what is he really
Yeah.
going to do?
And so that is one thing about him that, yeah, like I'm pro Elon Musk for the most part, but there's an emphasis on for the most part.
Right. You
Because
just never know with
I don't
billionaires
know.
in general. I mean, don't trust
Yeah.
any billionaires. Trust your friends, your family, the people who are close to you, but like don't fucking go out there and like trust that people are gonna save the world, because no one's gonna save the world. You're gonna save yourself, and we can take steps to not turn the world to shit. And that's really all that we can do.
Yeah.
Period, queen.
Yeah, not putting all your power and trust in Elon. So
So true,
you, but
besties.
if you want to be my sugar daddy, hit me up. But like, I'm still a little like on the fence.
Sugar daddy without the sugar. No sugar for him.
He has no sugar. He's cute though. Oh, he's cute. I mean, he's cuter than like Bill Gates.
Compared to Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, he is a fucking 9 out of 10.
Zuckerberg literally looks like fucking Momo. You know that like scary thing.
Oh my
Oh my god. He literally looks like a glass of milk. Like he just looks milky. Like Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates, I'm sorry. Mark Zuckerberg, he literally just like looks milky. Like when you look at him, he just like I don't know what it is, but he just looks milky. And like his eyeballs are too far out of his head for my liking. Like, I don't know what it is. I know that that's a really particular ick, but that is something that's just
looking a little off and suspicious.
He's just like, I'm like, hey yo, bro, like, I'm like, what did you snort in the bathroom? Because I'm like, hey yo, those babies are dilated, like,
He's how I feel about all, like, just don't trust billionaires, trust yourself, trust your family, your friends, and that's really all we can do when this world is going to shit. But stay hopeful. Take those every day, express gratitude, and I feel like that about sums it up. I think.
We'll be back on Wednesday next week.
It was a lot yesterday, working late, and I was traveling, but we will be back next week. So join us on Wednesday night, and we'll see you.
Stay skeptic, everyone. Stay skeptic.
Don't trust anybody.
Bye.